All right, fellas, the game's still on, and I'm going to try to bang this out before the edibles kick in. When the edibles kick in, that's like the hook. I got to go. I'm 39 years old. I'm too old for this shit. So an occasional blowout in prime time is good. It's good for me. It's good for you. We can all go to bed earlier. I'll start with the Tua thing. And I just told you I'm a little bit older. When I was younger, for some reason, I was pretty stoic about these injuries. Maybe it was the fact that I played and I was desensitized to seeing people down on the field, or, when you're a college football player, you go visit your roommate in the hospital for a neck injury, first or second year. It kind of, it reinforces early that, our line of work is different. And I think for a long time, whether it was like I could watch the replays of people breaking their legs, like Kevin Ware, show me, like I really was not squeamish. I think now that I'm not playing anymore, and this happened to me the first time I saw a game up close on the sideline, not in pads. I'll never forget that. I played 6 years in a row, didn't get hurt, got hurt, was in street clothes in St. Louis, and I saw LaMarcus Joyner hit Teddy Bridgewater. And the thump, I can't get it out of my head. Like it's still there. But as I retired and kind of sit on the couch and watch these games, I can't watch this shit. I mean, I love the game. It's a violent game. We all signed up for it. But there's something about seeing a guy with the fencing posture that's a little bit different for me. Having already seen it with Tua, and like that's always looming anytime he takes off. And my criticisms of him have never been about his durability. I mean, that's a risk he's taking. It's a risk we all take. And, there are other players that have had concussions, but seeing him in Cincinnati on the turf like that, it shook me. It did. And, later in the year, he got another concussion. And every time he takes off now, he's not the most mobile. He's not the best slide kind of guy. Like, there's some guys who just know how to slide. He's not a guy like that. And as soon as he took off, I just had a bad feeling. And when he went down on the turf tonight and did it again, it was like, oh no. I mean, like, I'm not that guy anymore. Yeah, it shook me up. I think it shakes everybody up watching. And I just hope he's okay, man. Like, listen, real shit. I've gone back and forth with a lot of fans about the football player. But I hope you believe me when I say I could give a fuck less about all that. I mean, like, I've been pretty consistent in my praise for the guy. I mean, whatever you think of him as a football player, he's overcome a lot. And I think he's mentally pretty tough, like to hang in there and, take the field and come back from those concussions and deal with criticism, because he gets a lot of it and some of it can be warranted, the play on the field. But I couldn't imagine shouldering that burden of being a quarterback in the NFL. And I just, he's battled. I'll give him that. And I hate seeing what I saw tonight. I don't want to see it again. And this has nothing to do with my critiques of the player. I hope, like my hope would be that maybe my eyes deceived me and the doctors tell him that he's okay if, like he takes his time and steps away for a little bit. But come on. Would you be okay if you heard that he's out a couple weeks? Or, I mean, I wouldn't want to watch because I don't want to see that. And I don't want to see whatever happens next. I don't, because the guy that hit him, this is when it really drove home for me, was the DeMar thing. It's like, and part of the reason I get so fucking mad at people when they make a joke out of the DeMar thing, or, the whole, the vaccine thing, whatever. But people blame the vaccine for him collapsing on the field. And like, I got heated about that stuff because, motherfucker, I've stood over teammates and I didn't know if they were going to get up. Like, it might be a joke to you, but I got buddies that are wrecked. And when we were in it, we were desensitized. We could compartmentalize. We were some of the best at it. But being out of it, I'm not that person anymore. And I don't like that shit. I never liked it when I played, but now I don't want to think about what it would take for him to get back on the field. I just want him to be okay. And, guy just got paid. Thank God he got paid, and no one should apologize for getting paid. I don't care who thinks they deserve it, who thinks, they do, they don't. We can sit up here and argue on TV about is somebody, like we were just doing that a month ago, but who gives a fuck? I want him to get every dollar and err on the side of caution. You know what I mean? It's, I'm 39 years old, and I was on the phone with somebody tonight who was having a hard time. I won't say anymore, but, they were talking about how, some things passed them by. And I'm like, dude, I got to tell you, I have those feelings all the time. Like I missed opportunities, or, was that really meaningful what I did? Or the most important thing in the world is today. And it's your ability to live tomorrow and to live that day with a high quality of life and to enjoy that money, that generational wealth that you created. So who gives a fuck about missing out on something or what might have been? I just hope that a guy like him doesn't feel like he has to go back. And the thing that got him here is the thing that's going to be his worst enemy if he's got to make a decision like that, which is his fucking determination. We can be our worst enemies as football players. I hope he gets the proper care and the proper advice, medically. I hope the Dolphins are really good about this, because you paid him knowing that he has a history, right? What happens if he never takes a snap? Not what I want to think about, but I hope he gets his money.
I mean, I would assume whatever those guarantees are guaranteed for injury as well. There's certainly going to be some, I don't know the specifics of the contract off the top of my head, but whatever wasn't guaranteed, those things maybe he wouldn't see if he were to play again. But fortunately for him, there's going to be a lot of guaranteed money.
A lot of guarantees.
And there've been a few examples of players recently that have gotten paid despite being sent to season ending or for IR for a couple years, or even have retired after a string of injuries.
I want to be, and I hope people aren't sitting there like, come on, you're, ushering him out of the league. I'm not. I'm not a doctor, obviously. Fuck, look at me. But what I am is a guy that's sitting here in this chair, and I've been there, done that, like I wouldn't trade my health for it. The other day I tried to grab something and I guess I made a noise. I walk out of the room and I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm happy to be where I am physically, but this is not something I play with. This is part of the reason I got out when I did, 11 years in, 34 years old. I want to get out and be healthy. And part of that was thinking about up top here, who knows? Maybe damage is already done. But I can still pick games because I think the Bills were winning that game, guys. All right? Not to, listen, I want to remind you, raise your hand if you picked the Bills to win the East. Okay, we got – no, I mean, you know, Noel, you're with me, bro. I'll get to Josh Allen and the offense. But Sean McDermott, listen, and I've sold him short before. I've said, hey, my man, you know, like, what was that at the end of the Denver game? Or why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Certainly last year – and boy, it's an interesting day to talk about this. It's the 12th, but the September 11th thing was like mind-boggling. And I think he's a great coach and a good guy, but people have sold this guy short, and nobody gets little guys to play bigger than Sean McDermott. I mean, that's what I've learned since I've taken this job as somebody who watches the game every week. He has, I mean, last year there were guys down left and right, and they battled. It was guys that I'm getting acquainted with, making plays for him. And this year already, you know, we went to camp, and we spent time with their team out on the field for walkthroughs and stuff. I got to watch like Ed Oliver and Rasul and a couple guys playing like basketball on the mini hoop. Ed Oliver, pretty good at that too. But watching the body types of that defense, not a big defense outside of Greg Rousseau. Like, not a big physical looking defense, but the greatest compliment I can give them is they swarm like bees. And the way they were attacking the flats tonight, the way they were fitting up in the run game, the way they fit up those perimeter plays. I know Miami had a nice drive, but as the game went on, it just felt like, you know, they hung in there. And Miami, for what it's worth, does not look the same in the passing game on offense. And obviously now it's going to look way different. I don't know what it's going to look like, but leading up to this, I didn't think they looked – over the first 6.5 quarters of the season, I did not think this team looked the same. You know, I was shocked they won the game last week, and I turned it into a positive on the show and said, hey, listen, I don't think last year's team wins this game from a mental toughness standpoint. And I know McDaniel attributed that to Calais Campbell, maybe some of the other guys, the veterans that he has in the building, but tonight they were not ready to play. And, you know, we're not going to go back and analyze every Tua pick. You know, some of them might not be on him. I mean, that first one, at the very least, the guy's got to get his damn head around, right? So there's a detail right there. Robbie Chosen, maybe he shouldn't be on the field. You know, like, if he's the culprit there, like, you don't get a lot of strikes if you're Robbie Chosen. If it's Tua, why are they not on the same page? It was hard for me to figure out, judging by the break and the leverage of the corner, whose fault that is. But it's another instance of, like, we're just not quite on the same page. And, you know, Mike, who I think is a good coach, and I'm pulling for him, you know, that end-of-half sequence was funky. The offense has looked a little funky, and maybe it is because the running backs are banged up. You know, like, they have kind of pivoted to being more of a run-first team who occasionally take shots. And to me, with all that speed on the field, you have to do a little bit more with it. Tonight, the grass was wet. You know, it's humid, the whole thing. I think it slowed that offense down. But in the future, they're going to have to make some adjustments. And, you know, one of the issues with, to me, becoming a run-first team for them is their offensive line depth has not been good. It hadn't been good for a couple years, and they're dipping into the bag, and it's not the most physical group. They lost Robert Jones tonight. They lost Hunt in free agency. He's in Carolina, like, fuck, take me back. It's not worth the check. But, you know, they lost Armstead tonight. They have problems. So as much as I'd like to say you got some damn good backs, run the ball, get the quick game going with whoever it is at quarterback. I don't know if that's sustainable for them now without the threat of a guy who, for all the criticisms of Tua that I've had, is a tremendous processor. He's going to get the ball where it needs to go right now. As the down goes on, there are issues. But if you've got a guy who can extend plays a little bit better, who comes in and replaces him, then it's just going to be about getting that guy on schedule and picking his spots. And one guy I think could be interesting, and me and Nolan have been pushing this. This is like Carson Wentz radio.
Yep.
You know, like we're talk about narratives replacing narratives. You know, we get done the Tua thing, you know, it's been polarizing. You bring in Carson Wentz, you don't know polarizing, my friends. That would be a fucking roller coaster ride that I would sign up for, because I think he's got – the one thing I don't know about with him is, does he fit that offense? Could Mike make it fit him?
I think he could. I think you look at the way Mike adapted what was Shanahan's scheme to perfectly fit Tua. I think this guy can do anything. McDaniel, that is.
Yeah.
Fitting into a guy's skill set.
There were a lot of quarterbacks we dreamt up playing in Miami this offseason, like Dak would have been A1. Justin Fields would have been fun. It would have been fun to see what he could have done with him. But I think a Carson Wentz would be a nice blend where it's like you got the play extension. The guy can still move around. I saw him in preseason with one of the most impressive scrambles that went for nothing. I saw all preseason, and I was like, damn, he's still got his legs look good. Like he can still move. And I think like if you follow the pattern of, hey, Darnold went out west to quarterback camp with the Niners. Look at him week 1. Baker went out west to quarterback camp with the Rams. Look at him the last year and a week. All right. Carson Wentz spent some time there with Sean McVay in LA. Looked good in spots. It kind of makes me wonder if Kansas City would even part ways with him, you know, especially in conference. You know, like, hey, if this team slides in and Pat gets dinged, like Patrick got hurt in the Jacksonville game a couple years ago. If you're playing a team like Jacksonville at that point, or you're playing a team like Miami, and all of a sudden you're down Patrick, and the decision is, can we sit him and get the ankle right for the next 3 quarters and get ready for next week, or call in Carson Wentz? Well, we just traded him to the Miami Dolphins, who were playing. Like, there's weirder scenarios than that. So that have happened. So I look at Flacco, right?
What's the return for Carson, if you had to guess?
It's really interesting.
5 or a 6, but if you have crazy leverage, maybe better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you just mentioned, like, in division, Dolphins need somebody because the rest of the roster is as strong as they are, and if McDaniel thinks he can get what he can out of Wentz, it seems like the Chiefs could get like a bit, like 3 or a 4.
I don't know if Andy Reid really,
but
if Andy Reid like had naked pictures of Mike, or like Mike, he had a Shannon Sharp type recording of Mike, he might be able to get a 3. But I think it'd be hard to get a 3. I think it would be more like a 5 would be like the over under for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be way off. I'm not good at this stuff. This isn't what I know.
It's always hard to tell, and every situation is unique. But it's a great point too, Chris, with any team that sees itself as a contender, considers itself a contender, you always have to think of Foles and think, you know, this situation could arise, and we might need a guy who can get us through some games, get us through a playoff game. So, you know, I'm sure for KC, probably want to hang on to him. Indy probably want to hang on to Joe. You know, you think of Philly too with Kenny Pickett. I mean,
with Pickett,
like, you know, Tanner McKee had another great preseason. Maybe that's a call you make just to see. Yeah,
that was the vibe I got, that battle had kind of evened a little bit,
right?
If not swung McKee's way,
right?
I don't know if I'm saying too much there, but that was just kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying from players. It just watching practice and talking to reporters and shit. Like, so maybe Pickett is available.
Maybe. I think those are all calls you would make if this is the situation that Miami finds itself.
I'll tell you a call that popped into my head that somebody should make. Maybe I just complimented Devin White on his grace in the face of some really tough questions at the locker today. It's a tough deal when you got high hopes. You want to stick it to the man, your old team. They found somebody new. They got KJ Britt down there in Tampa. So they find you expendable. The end of last year kind of got probably contentious, I would guess. And you end up in Philly where you're like, I'm going to football heaven. And they've been needing linebackers like crazy. We lauded the move. But, there's always a reason a guy's off the field. And whether it's health or play, and the emergence of Bond game one, and it seems like they're sticking with Dean. Fangio likes him. And maybe Philly doesn't want the depth headache because they've been there, right? What's it worth? If Buffalo, that's the point I'm trying to make. Buffalo could call Philly because they lost Bernard tonight. And like Matt Milano, one of my favorite damn football players, I was like, there's Matt Milano. I was at camp. I was like, wasn't I? I was like, there he is. I've done that with two people, Matt Milano and
Romeo Dobbs.
You're goddamn right. But they lost him. They hurt my boy. Yep. So they hurt Matt Milano. They hurt Bernard. They're hurting Bills left and right, man. Smoot. Taron Johnson, one of the best nickels in the league. And you'd have thought coming in this game, they're cooked. But no, they're not cooked because they got Sean McDermott. He gets little guys to play big. And by little guys, I mean guys you never heard of and literally little guys. They fly around, dude. So congrats to the Bills. The game's still on. What's the score? Because I got the under and the Bills. The Bills are straight, but
went final 5 minutes ago, 31-10.
Bro, my cup runneth over. All my live bets hit. Holy shit. And the Bills are good, man. Listen, there's two guys I want to shout out. Studs of the game. Total studs. Here's this guy, dude. I'm getting his jersey. I'm getting like one of those goofy ass, like grown man wearing somebody's jersey setups. Who do you think I'm going to say?
Ed Oliver.
Fucking right. I'm getting a 91. Getting a 91, bro. Hey, 100% canine.
Yeah. He's a dog.
The results came back. 100% motherfucking canine. Dude, guy's got a high motor. He's a glass eater. Third down, he blew up a couple third downs.
Yep, fourth down sack.
Do you know how good that feels to blow up third down and then fourth down on an NFL field? It is like methamphetamine, I would imagine. Like, he had to feel like a damn hero out there. And maybe it's just me because I'm biased and I like the guy. And I'm psyched he's having a big night in prime time. But that was the rare moment where I missed football. Right there. And then, 15 minutes later, I'm like, man, how do we play this game? It's brutal. Ed Oliver, absolute dog. He wasn't even in a stance on fourth down. That's a guy who says on third. There are some guys who line up and fucking run straight. No, I'm not talking about Xavier Worthy. I'm saying there are some guys who just line up, and I've never been in their heads, so I don't know. But I would imagine there's some guys that line up, and I'm gonna do the best I can. I hope I make a play. And there's some guys that line up and they're like, it's gonna be me, motherfucker. And they do it 40 times a game, and they only get home once, and that's how they make a living. Do you know what it's like in the mind of somebody like that? it's chaos. Ed Oliver is a dog. When he puts his hand in the dirt, he's like, it's going to be me. Every time. You watch this guy play. Love him. Fucking love him. God, I love football sometimes. Huh? Jeez. Josh Allen. Stud number 2. Guys, my friend Josh, my buddy Josh Allen. It's time. It's time. It's time to get the hooks coming, guys.
7-0 on Thursday Night Football.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, you look at the stats coming in, and you're about to hear this on the podcast. You know, Macon's going to be like, oh, a hot take is everybody says, oh, they don't need Diggs. Who said that? Well, I'm going to zag. You're doing a lot of zigging. I'm going to zag. It's the Bills are in trouble because they miss Stephon Diggs, who is a tremendous football player. But sometimes it can be an unnecessary amount of greatness. And you gotta justify it by giving him so many touches. Like, put him somewhere where it fits. They were running the offense through tight ends, and you know, like they needed him on an occasional shot or, you know, something quick game out on the perimeter. But they can get the quick game from Shakir. Maybe not just as good, but you get it from Shakir. And they think this Coleman guy is special. So, you know, you add those two elements, and here's where it gets good, guys. Did you guys know that Josh Allen lived on a pistachio farm? You didn't know that? You knew that? Reed, did you know that?
Didn't he say that in the interview?
He said it in the interview, but tonight I got a good look at that farm. Al Michaels took us all to Josh's pistachio farm in, I don't know, where, Fresno, where they grow pistachios, which I had no idea. Shoot me. I had no idea they were growing on trees. I know what doesn't grow on fucking trees. Josh Allen. He's QB2 to all you out there. Globally, QB2. Maybe the flag football guy would have an argument, but I think he's QB2. So I was like, hey, what? How do they fucking grow these pistachios? I've never seen a pistachio tree. I always get them in the bag. Kind of stopped eating them a while ago. I actually don't think they're that good. Right? Maybe at an airport, Hudson News, got nothing else to eat. Reed and I have been there, airport food. So I looked it up. Did you know on a pistachio farm, growers harvest new orchards about 7 to 8 years after the trees are first planted? It is year 7 for Josh Allen. Let's fucking go! Can't believe they were catching points. This is the year, boys. This might, hey, you think you have a read. You think you know how it's all going to play out. You write these guys off. I think they're playing with a lot of fire, man. And I think the offense has a nice balance. We don't even talk about Kincaid tonight. You know, like that guy's, every time he touches the ball, it could be a quick look. Like he caught a ball out of the half and it was like a little dump to the flat and it should be a 2-yard gain. And he turns it into 8. Like these are little things, but they keep you on track. And then he can go make the explosive plays. So I think they're going to be fine. By the way, one more play, if you notice this, you know what I'm talking about. It was like maybe the second half. It was the second drive of the second half. And Miami brought blitz 3rd and 7 off the left edge. The throw Josh made casually to pick up that first down, like flat-footed, kind of like, it was like half a motion. And it got out to the fucking sideline with zip. I see guys all over the league struggle to make that throw from a clean pocket. I mean, it's just a comeback or whatever the fuck it is. But the velocity on that ball, it's just like, man, the guy's different.
Oh, he was totally opened up. Both shoulders were facing downfield.
You got to see it to understand
and just threw out the side.
Maybe
wild.
You can put it on here so people can see. And maybe they'll be like, Chris, you're high. But it was the coolest throw that nobody noticed. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, he just makes hard things look easy. If he can just make the easy things look easy, it's going to be a really good year. And he has so far.